G'day guys, my name is Caleb, otherwise known as the Critic Kebab, and welcome back to another episode of my FIFA 23 Chelsea Career Mode series. This episode is going to be a huge one, so make sure you guys are strapped in because there is so much to dissect, so much to talk about, and it all starts with the huge breaking news that Graham Potter is officially sacked as the Chelsea manager. This is of course my post-Liverpool match review based off the results that's happening in life as we traverse this season in real time, talking about my thoughts and feelings. We're going to talk about the Liverpool game, of course. We're going to dissect everything to do with how Graham Potter and why he got sacked. And we will also be talking about who's next, what's going to be happening in the future, and especially the big news that's coming out as of today that Frank Lampard, of all people, might be returning to the Chelsea boss role and taking over as the interim manager until the end of the season. So lots to discuss. Towards the end of this episode, we will also be versing Aston Villa in the Premier League, the team that we most recently lost to in real life. Now, fellow football fans and Chelsea supporters, most of you guys have subscribed to this channel and watched these videos for the Chelsea Career Mode entertainment, but also, hopefully, to listen to my thoughts and break down my opinions on what's happening in real life with the Chelsea team. And there will be lots of talking in this episode because I have so many thoughts and I want to just be able to explode and let them all out and let them flow from my brain to my mouth to you guys. So sit tight, let's get into it. Now, of course, Graham Potter came in and replaced Thomas Tuchel, and right from the start, so many Chelsea fans looked at that appointment and were very befuddled because you look at Thomas Tuchel and he had so much success as the Chelsea manager, getting us to cup final after cup final, winning us the Champions League final of all of them, the holy grail of European football. Tuchel accomplished that for us. So he had a lot of goodwill with the fans. And as soon as Todd Boehly and the new ownership came in after Abramovich, they sort of backed Tuchel. They gave him the financial support, made a good first impression, and they invested in experienced older players that Tuchel wanted and that Tuchel thought would be best for this team and would take them to that next step to really make them drive towards Premier League success. And obviously we had players like Aubameyang come into the team as well, a player that Tuchel had obviously had a good relationship with in the past. But then, as soon as the transfer window ends, and as soon as Aubameyang comes to the club, Tuchel, he's out the door. And Boehly is like, nah, I'm not having it. Obviously, the reasoning as to why that happened is very ambiguous. It's not very clear. There's rumors that circulate in, legitimate areas of the media saying that there was a disagreement between Potter and Boehly, and, that relationship broke down, which led to the sacking. In saying that, obviously, Tuchel, hugely successful, an elite manager within world football. But then we transition to Graham Potter. This man is so much different to Tuchel. It's not even funny. To go to a manager who has won us the Champions League to a manager who has never coached in the Champions League, that is completely wild. So I totally understand so many of you guys being skeptical from the start with Potter because it's like, this guy is not a proven winner. He started off in like the Swedish division and had some success there. Then he coached Swansea. Then he went to Brighton and obviously did quite well with Brighton. But I think Roberto De Zerbi has proved that it's not so much the tactics that are at play. Brighton just have some good players and they perform well as a team. And I think when you look at Graham Potter and when he came to the club, there was a sense of optimism for this long-term project. But now that he has been sacked, I feel betrayed. I'm actually quite frustrated that he has been sacked because I was one of those fans that was willing to suffer and have some short-term pain in order to make that long-term gain and have long-term success. And especially after we invested in so many young players in the January transfer window. So for me, now that Potter is sacked, I'm actually very, very frustrated because I feel like, what was the point? You know, we invested all this care and love and support into Graham Potter, and we really, really wanted him to succeed. And he obviously didn't. And now that he's out the door, it's like, what was all that heartache for? Like, when you look at the statistics here, he had 31 matches in charge of the Blues, only accomplishing 12 wins and having 11 losses, 8 draws as well. And his win percentage comes to 38%. That is nowhere near good enough for the Chelsea team, because over the last 25 years since Abramovich has come through, we have been engrossed in this culture of always having success. And if you don't fulfill the requirements that, you know, Abramovich did have for his managers, then you are out the door. And Potter, if he was under Abramovich, you know, he would have been out the door 3 or 4 times before Bowley ended up pulling the trigger. So Potter, straight away, not getting results, not, you know, making the team work in a cohesive way, especially in the attacking third. And that win percentage is just not good enough. But in saying that, it's not all Graham Potter's fault. The players have to take responsibility as well. Like, you need to remember that when Potter came into the club, he had a World Cup interruption mid-season. He was coming into a team that was very, very susceptible to injuries. You basically had the full starting 11 out injured. Mendy, Fofana, Reece James, Ben Chilwell. So many players, it's hard to remember how many there were. But he came in and had to inherit this squad and figure out, okay, who can I rely on? Who can I trust? And then start to build a starting 11 from there. And then Todd Bowley comes in. He's like, mate, I'm rich. Don't you remember? And he just starts throwing new players at him. And all of a sudden, he's got a brand new starting 11 to work with. He's got all these new young players. Some of them don't even speak English, like Enzo Fernandez. So there's so many new faces at the club. Not just, you know, on the field, but behind the scenes as well, in the coaching departments as well. And it's one of those things, I feel like, in a sense, Graham Potter was almost set up for failure. I know many non-Chelsea fans like to throw a lot of shade and throw a lot of, you know, jokes towards Chelsea. We are the banter club in the Premier League right now. But it's one of those situations where it was such a difficult situation and Potter really was thrown into the deep end. And he did not have the tools at his disposal. He did not have the personality or the characteristics in order to bring these players together and make them function efficiently on the field. And you know how that saying goes, you get chucked into the deep end and you either sink or you swim. And Graham Potter, he sunk very deep and very quickly to the bottom. Now, of course, the game last night against Liverpool was an interesting one because, again, it was another example of these players coming together and working really well. I thought we dominated Liverpool for a majority of the game. And yet, the game finished all square 0-0. And that just doesn't make any sense based off how many chances we had. We have so many quality individuals, and yet once we get into the attacking third, we just can't come together and get the ball in the net. And yes, so many people like to point out, oh, we don't have a striker. Not true. We have Aubameyang. We have David Datro Fofana. You know, Kai Havertz has been the main man up top for the Potter era of this Chelsea team. And none of them have been utilised in an efficient way. And Havertz has not stepped up and done his job and scored goals. Which is crazy ironic because he's Chelsea's top scorer. And what does that say about our team? So many people in the media and on social media are coming out saying, oh, Chelsea need to sign a striker. Not remembering we've signed Christopher Nkunku from RB Leipzig. He will be joining us at the beginning of the next season. I did suspect that he was going to play as the striker with João Felix and perhaps Havertz or Mudryk either side of him. Whether that ends up being the case, I have no idea. Again, this whole team has been thrown into turmoil because of the uncertainty that the future has. But honestly, we dominated Liverpool like we have in many of our previous encounters, and we come away with a stalemate, and it's becoming a tradition almost between us two teams. We just are so evenly matched that neither side can get a definitive result. And yeah, it was disappointing to see a draw, but at the end of the day, it's not as bad as a loss. So we have to take the pros and the cons, right? Now, what's most funny, especially if you reflect on some of my previous videos, is that I was so confident that Todd Bowley was making good decisions and that Graham Potter was going to turn things around. So to look back on that, it now does look rather silly because it has all come crashing down quite quickly and in a very anticlimactic fashion. But you do have to question the ownership because there is no clear plan, and at the end of the day, football lives in a results-driven business, and Graham Potter was not getting the results, which means the long-term project that was being bestowed upon Potter is basically out the door. And it now begs the question, who do we get next? And I know there's lots of rumors that Julian Nagelsmann from Bayern Munich, who recently just got sacked and is available, is the top candidate. But again, he's a relatively young and inexperienced manager that, yes, has won some trophies with Bayern Munich, and before that he was with Hoffenheim in the Bundesliga as well. And whilst I, like his style of play and think that his tactics might suit Chelsea quite well, I don't know, is it worth going with another manager who hasn't proven himself over the long term? And then the other candidate that has been discussed, a lot in the media is Luis Enrique from, Spain's success, and before that, Barcelona success. And, Enrique, he won the treble in his first season at Barcelona. So this is a manager that knows how to win trophies and has coached some of the best players in the world. So when you weigh up those two options, at face value, it looks like Enrique is the no-brainer, but maybe Nagelsmann is the one to revitalize this team with his youth and excitement and get it working on the pitch. So I don't know. Either option, I'm not against or anything, but it is one of those things where it's hard to predict what the ownership will go with, and whether it's now we just rely on short-term elite managers to get us success in the short term, or if we pivot and go into another long-term project with this same team but with another manager. And if that's the case, what does that say about the sort of ideas behind keeping Potter or not keeping Potter? I don't know. There's so many question marks. It's really hard to get an understanding of it because it does, from an outsider looking in, it does look like a bit of a shit show. And I'm sure some of you guys would agree. But I tell you what, my dream reality, and this won't happen, but could you imagine, guys, just go into that thought bubble, just imagine this dream world where Jose Mourinho comes back to the Chelsea Blues for his third stint. The trilogy gets completed. He comes back and he brings Frank Lampard and promotes John Terry to the first team coaching staff away from the youth team, and brings Ashley Cole as well, reassembles some Chelsea legends, and goes forward with this team. A team that has, yes, a lot of young players, but again, so much quality. And Jose Mourinho, the special one, comes back to Stamford Bridge and perhaps, maybe, wins us the Champions League, because Mourinho, he always did have unfinished business with Chelsea. He has said it's been one of his big regrets is that he didn't win the Champions League with those amazing teams between 2004 to 2007, that little stint that he had his first time around. And I'm a big fan of Jose Mourinho. I have no quarrels with him. I know he's one of those polarizing characters that you either love him or you hate him. And his tactics in recent years have not always proven to be as successful, especially in the Premier League. But what he's doing at Roma, I think, has proven that he is an elite manager. He won the Conference League with them last season. He's doing extremely well in the Europa League this season. And even though I don't think he will come to Chelsea, I don't think Todd Bowley and the owners and stuff would go down that route. But I just, in this little dream world that we've created, Jose Mourinho with John Terry and Frank Lampard as the assistant coaches, as well as Ashley Cole helping out as the defensive coach. Oh, that would just be awesome, especially as a Chelsea fan, to see all these legends come back to Stamford Bridge under new ownership and potentially win some more silverware. Anyway, putting that to the side, so much is going to be happening towards the end of this season. Who is in charge that carries us towards the end, I don't know. But as is being reported in the media, Frank Lampard looks like the top candidate. Our goal now for the rest of the season is just to end the Premier League respectably, get some wins under our belt, hopefully get a run of form. But most importantly, as Graham Potter once said, we need to win the fucking Champions League. With Lampard as the interim manager, I think it'll bring the feel-good factor back to Stamford Bridge. Another important thing to remember is that a lot of the players that he did purchase are actually still at the club, such as Thiago Silva, Kai Havertz, Ben Chilwell, Hakim Ziyech. So he will come back into this team, and a lot of the players will be happy to see him return because they signed for the Blues because of Lampard's persuasive techniques. So those players, as well as having some of the new players that Bolier's acquired, having them all mixed together and getting behind Lampard, I think could actually work quite well. And it is something I'm in favour for, especially on a short-term basis. I don't think Lampard would be our solution for the long term. He's definitely not tactically well equipped enough to do that, and his stint at Everton proved that he is still an inexperienced manager. But for the short term, as a Chelsea fan, I would absolutely welcome with open arms Super Frankie Lampard back to the Bridge. Now, this is the team that I'm going to send out to Villa Park to verse Aston Villa. Now, I have come to the decision that yes, I will be dropping Thiago Silva and bringing in Koulibaly into that central defensive role, just because Silva, he just doesn't have the pace and the agility, and Koulibaly has been doing a relatively good job in that role with Badiashile and Fofana either side of him. I've also brought Mason Mount into the team with all the rumours that Lampard might return. Let's bring on the Golden Boy back into the team and give it a go. So let's get straight into the game and hopefully get a really positive result, because God, we need one in the Premier League. Now, of course, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below with regards to all the rumours and stuff that are circulating around Frank Lampard returning to Stamford Bridge. Like, it's one of those situations, I'm sure there's so many different thoughts and feelings out there. I think it's important to remember that when Frank Lampard, had his first stint at Chelsea, that he actually did quite well in his first season. He was able to secure top 4 football with a very young and inexperienced team, and had to go throughout the season without being able to buy any players. He had that transfer ban, of course. I understand in the second season, once he eventually did buy a bunch of players that he wanted, it didn't quite work out, but I'll say it is definitely possible to accomplish good things with Lampard at the helm. And I think it definitely will bring the feel-good factor, like I said before. So hopefully, if it does end up going down that way and Lampard does return, that we can maintain some consistency and maintain some cohesion in the attacking third, because Lampard often did have some good attacking football, especially with Abraham up top. Oh, switching it out here to Chilwell. Can he whip it in with his right? No, gets blocked. Another important thing to remember is that the first time Chelsea won the Champions League was when we had an interim manager. Roberto Di Matteo came in, saw the job out to the end of the season, and won us the damn thing. Is history repeating itself? Is Lampard the second coming of that? If that's the case, that would be awesome. Nothing would make me happier than Lampard winning us the Champions League with him at the helm. That would be so epic.
Enzo Fernandez. Here's Chilwell. A change to the scoreline at the Etihad, I believe.
Oh, opportunity. Mason Mount. The man of the moment. He makes his return to the starting 11 and he scores the first goal of the game, putting us in the lead against Aston Villa. Fantastic work. An opportunity that really came out of nothing. Tuchel had plenty of space, wasn't closed down, was able to find the false nine in Kai Havertz, who was able to make a swift turn and just lay it off to Mason Mount. And he finishes with his left foot with absolute precision. Alrighty, and the half-time whistle blows. Aston Villa, they had some stints of possession, but never looked super deadly in the attacking third. Ourselves, obviously, kind of similar. You know, we had some good possession, and we had the one opportunity to get a good direct shot on goal. And we took it. So that is exactly what we want, because opportunity sometimes can be far and few between, especially in the away games. Also, I just remembered, I can't believe I forgot to mention this in my Liverpool review, but how good is N'Golo Kante? Making his return to the starting 11, it was a complete surprise and a reminder really of how good he really is. Just such a good box-to-box player, you know, always looking forward to try and help out, but also super deadly as a defensive player as well. Just always cutting out passes and making really good tackles. He is honestly such a good player, and it really proves how much of a difference he makes on the team and how much we've missed him. And I think it'll be interesting to see if he does end up getting the contract extension, whether he is able to stay fit, because I've changed my opinion. I was, you know, previously thinking, oh, maybe we should try and sell him, get rid of him because maybe he's past his prime and of the injuries and so forth. I don't know how Bailey missed that. But it's one of those situations now. I would probably go into the boat where we just give him 1 year contract extensions, you know, just keep him around, give him a little bit of, you know, security maybe, and offer him, you know, services at the Chelsea Football Club, because I'd very happily take them. So N'Golo Kante staying at the Blues, hopefully that happens, because he is so very good. And like I said in previous episodes, the partnership with Enzo, that's something I want to see. Oh, unfortunately not able to get it there. Good tackle there by Chilwell. Bit of skill moves, bit of dribbling. Flair on the edge of the box there. Thankfully, we didn't concede a penalty, but a corner is what we had to give away. And Fofana, in the dangerous area, is able to clear it away. João Felix is able to collect it, and with his pace and acceleration, he is able to get away from the players. He's got no one in support. It's 1 versus 5. Can he whip a cross in? Mount! Ended up making a darting run to the edge of the box. Probably too far out to score with his head, but I appreciate the effort.
Good defending to stop a decent looking attack. And there's been a change.
Oh, overlap here, surely. Surely. Yeah, Tuchel's in. Come on, boys. Surely. Oh, wow. What an exquisite counter-attack. So free-flowing. Players were always in the right spot. And Kai Havertz is the one at the end that delivers. We were absolutely like a steam train then. Full steam ahead, going towards our destination. And that was scoring a goal. It all started with the Chilwell overlapping run. Fantastic work there. And we are up by 2-0. Fantastic work here. Alrighty, 10 minutes to go in the game. I think it's a situation of we just got to see out the result. Maybe even get a third. Conor Gallagher, the sub. Oh, he gets on. And he absolutely rockets it into the back of the net. What a goal. That was fantastic. Oh, I did not see that coming. I was genuinely in the opinion that we were just going to have to lock it up and pass the ball around and not do anything silly. But in the blink of an eye, Aston Villa create gaps of spaces, and we have absolutely punished them. And it has been a huge result here at Villa Park. Martinez not able to get out in time, and Conor Gallagher, the youngster who has proven so much quality over the course of this season, has got us the third. Come on, you Blues.
Determined defending. Lovely work to get past his man. And there it is.
Sloppy. Absolutely sloppy.
At this stage of the proceedings.
Probably my overconfidence is what led to that mistake there. Honestly, mistakes like that shouldn't happen, regardless of the scoreline. I take full accountability for that. Should have just cleared it. No need to pass on the inside there. You know, that's a schoolboy error. It's one of those situations you learn never pass across goal. And in a situation like that, yes, it didn't go to the goalkeeper, but it was going inbound. Very, very silly goal to concede. Surely the referee blows his whistle straight away. Come on. No reason for Aston Villa to get another attack going here. Full time, 3-1. Unfortunately, we didn't keep our clean sheet. That is a little bit frustrating, but I think we played very, very well. We kept Aston Villa to minimal attacking chances, and when we created some of our own, we buried it. So, very, very pleased with our counter-attacking display especially. 3-1 is the final result. We move on in the Premier League, and hopefully this can be the spark of some momentum because we are so desperate for it. I guess we're continuing with these Potter post matches as well. Of course, there's no way for me to change the manager in the career mode at this stage. We're just going to have to go with Graham Potter and give those classic, the boys gave everything answer. Obviously, the first one here is, can you move forward now in reference to the fact that we've actually finally won a game in the Premier League? We've got ground to make up now. Did your boys prove a point with the win today? I'm proud of the boys' determination. Was that the kind of straightforward win you were expecting? There are no easy games. In the Premier League, every game has its own unique quirks. Every team has a certain desire. You know, the teams towards the bottom of the table, people think are often easy games, but you need to think they are fighting for their lives. The stakes have never been higher in the Premier League, and they want to avoid relegation so severely. So yeah, those games are never easy, and in the Premier League, that's why we love it, because it's the most competitive division in European football. With the season well underway and a pattern emerging, it was something of a shock to see Chelsea emerge as winners in their league clash against Aston Villa. Hopefully headlines like that don't become commonplace, because I really do expect Chelsea to be back at the top. We've got players that are absolutely world class, and we just need to make sure that they all come together and work well as a team. And whether it's Frank Lampard in the short term to make that happen, or if it's Julian Nagelsmann or Luis Enrique for the long term, I have no idea. Again, comment your thoughts down below, and thank you so much for watching. If you've made it to this point of the video, you are an absolute legend. I really do appreciate it. But as always, make sure you have that notification button turned on so you get notified as soon as videos go live on the channel. Smash the like button, and I will catch you in the next episode for that Wolves game on the weekend, and hopefully we can get another win with someone new in the dugout, not being Graham Potter. Thanks so much for watching. Come on, you Blues.